story time about how I ghosted my boyfriend of 5 years.
I know that sounds so bad, but he was a thief, a liar, and a cheater. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. Like I said, my boyfriend and I have been together for 5 years. We met in college and were basically inseparable for the first 2 years. On our 3rd year of dating, I started working as a personal assistant for a big celebrity in LA. This meant I had to move to LA. You see, we lived in Texas at the time. Well, things got really bad after I moved. He wouldn't take my phone calls, he would totally ignore my text messages, and he would go out all the time. For the first few months, I tried to keep the peace so I wouldn't say anything, but eventually it got to the point where we wouldn't speak for an entire week. Luckily, my best friend still lived in Texas, so I had her follow him around for 2 days. And you'll never guess what she found. Shout out to my bestie. She showed up to his apartment early in the morning and waited for him to go to work, which he did. When he was done with work, she went back to his job to follow him back home. This is when she told me that he actually went to some girl's house. He didn't end up going home at all that day. This man actually spent the night at some girl's house. The whole time I was trying to call him and text him, and he did not take my phone calls. My best friend even took pictures of his car in this girl's driveway. Since I had this girl's address, I looked her up on the internet. I even found out her phone number because I paid some service online. And of course, I found her Instagram account. She had been posting on her story about hanging out with some guy. But the thing is, she didn't show the guy's face. She only showed his hand. Guess what? I recognize his hand in the picture because it has a tattoo on his pinky. So of course, I took screenshots. Later that day, my best friend followed him to a bar. At this bar, he met up with another girl. Unfortunately, I didn't have any information about this girl. I just knew that she drove a green car. My best friend followed him again the following day. He went to the beach, ran some errands, and then met up with another girl. Yes, we have 3 girls in 2 days. This girl was different because this girl was a friend of mine when I lived in Texas. And I knew she always had a crush on him, but she could never admit it. They went out to dinner and then back to her place. And again, my best friend sent me pictures of everything, so I had all the receipts. Side note, I think of my best friend spying on him and it makes me laugh. I hope you can all say you have best friends that are like that. So here's what I did. I got on the first flight back to Texas and did not tell my boyfriend that I was showing up at his apartment the following day. But guess what I find in his bed? Show up to my boyfriend's apartment to catch him in the act, and you'll never guess what I found in his bed. My lying, cheating boyfriend had given me a key to his apartment. So I unlock the apartment and make my way towards his bedroom, really quietly. When I walk into his bedroom, I find him curled up in his bed with another girl. He's holding her in his arms, totally fast asleep. The worst part is, I recognize the girl that was with him. It was one of the girls who I used to be friends with in Texas. I walked backwards and closed the door behind me. That's when I just started to cry. I couldn't believe that he had done this to me. While I was working my butt off in LA trying to make a future for us, he was in Texas dating 3 women at once. No wonder he never picked up my phone calls or even texted me back. So here's what I did. I had printed out all the receipts I had, all the pictures of him hanging out with other girls that my best friend took while she was spying on him. I laid out all the pictures on his kitchen counter, and I left him a letter too. I told him in the letter that I could never forgive him and for him to never contact me again. Oh yeah, and that I wanted him to pay me back the $3,000 he owed me. You see, when we first started dating, he needed a loan for his car. I helped him out and gave him $3,000, which he promised to pay me. Obviously, we dated for 5 years and I never saw any of that money. So aside from him being a cheater and a liar, he was a thief. I left the note and the cards and left his apartment. I went to my parents' house and stayed with them for the weekend. Of course, my boyfriend, ex, showed up to my parents' house and begged to talk to me. My father told him to leave me alone and to never speak to me again. My dad told him that when he was ready to pay him the money. That made me laugh. I was totally crushed. I blocked him on everything, even through email. Of course, he got on someone else's phone and tried to contact me that way, but I never replied. He sends me emails every now and then and promises to pay me the money back. A few days ago, he sent me a picture of an engagement ring. He keeps telling me that I'm the best thing that he's ever had, that he's sorry and blah, blah, blah. I kind of want to reply to him, but I know that that's a bad idea, right? Or should I just talk to him and see what he has to say? What do you guys think?
Today's story time is about 2 things. A job I used to work and acid, and specifically how they don't go together in any situation. I always get comments all the time, like pretty much every day, of people being like, yo man, have you ever worked like a normal job? Like have you ever like done anything besides YouTube? And I've done a couple things. One of the things I've talked about, and the other one I haven't talked about. And today I'm about to talk about that today. So today's story time, it all starts off as a normal day, okay? I'm sitting in my room, and I was really excited. I was 16 years old and I had just gotten hired at a pet shop nearby. Yes, a pet shop, you know, where they sell pets, you know, leopard geckos, kittens, goldfish, lizards, fucking guinea pigs. You know what a pet shop is. Anyway, I had just gotten hired at this pet shop, and at this time I was doing YouTube. I had just started doing it like a little bit more frequently, and it was starting to pick up some traction, but it wasn't enough traction to like, you know, pay for essentials or anything. So I still wanted like a normal job on the side, and I also really wanted to work at this pet shop because all my friends worked there. I had like 3 friends that worked there from school. So they got me hired. My friends put in a good word. The boss liked me. We did an interview. He hired me. And my first day was coming up soon. So I was really excited, right? Like life was really going my way. So I decided that it would be a good idea to drop acid to celebrate. Yep. Later that night at about, 4 or 5 in the morning, I was pulling an all-nighter. I thought to myself, yeah, I'm going to drop acid because I'm going to celebrate. Now, before I took this acid, I looked at it in my hand and I was like, well, here we go. And I put it on my tongue and I took it. Keep in mind, it was like 5 in the morning at this point and it was May 14th. Now, when I saw the date on my home screen, I was like, shit, I need to set a reminder for my first day of work in a couple days. So I go on my calendar and I set a reminder for May 16th because that was my first day of work. So yeah, I set this reminder for May 16th at 6 a.m. I had to get up at 6, be at the shop by 6:30 and, talk to the owner and help him open up the shop and stuff. So yeah, I did that. So in my mind, I thought I was all good. I was like, okay, we're good. I just took this acid. I'll just, relax for the rest of the night. And then I have the whole day tomorrow to relax and, kind of like recuperate. And then the day after that, I start work. So yeah, after I set this reminder for work on the 16th, I lay down and I start watching a movie. And it starts to kick in a little while later. And like right after it starts to kick in and like I really start to feel this shit, I get a call at 6:30 a.m. from a random phone number. And I answer it and I'm like, hello? And I hear, Austin, where are you? And I was like, what do you mean? Who is this? He goes, your boss? And he says the pet shop's name. And I was like, what? No, I don't start till the 16th. He's like, no, you start today. So I muted the phone call and I literally just said, fuck me. And I unmute the phone and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'll be there in like 10 minutes. He goes, okay, like, late on your first day. That's not a good look. I was like, I know, I'm sorry. I'll be right there. So I hang up, I jump out of bed, I get dressed and I rush to this fucking pet shop on my bike, full speed. And let me tell you, biking full speed on acid and, rushing and being anxious was a fucking terrible feeling. I was ridden with anxiety. So I get to this fucking pet shop. I'm seeing shapes at this point. I go into the pet shop and my boss is waiting. Austin, there you are. And I was like, hey, what's up? He goes, yeah, nothing. I need you to help stock the shelf. It's the dog food shelf. All the labels are already up on the shelves. You just have to go through this box, find whatever one matches the label, and put it there. I was like, okay, for sure. So I go over there, and let me tell you, trying to identify which dog food goes where, and trying to read these labels while having an insane trip was not a very easy thing to do. And I was working at turtle pace. Like, literally 30 minutes into this, I had barely gotten like 2 of the dog foods on the shelf. And my boss walks over. He's like, Austin, you having some trouble? I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that good. He's like, what's wrong? And I was like, well, I'm just kind of having some trouble reading these labels and like matching them to the shelf. And he's like, come on, like here, I'll show you. And he starts showing me what to do. And I knew very well what to do. I was just very fucking out of it and I could not, work at a fast pace. So after he shows me what to do and he walks away and leaves me to it, I just decide, okay, I have 2 options here. I either sit here all day and keep fucking this up and get fired for messing it up, or I just put it all where I think it's gonna go and try and go on to my next task. And yeah, my dumbass organized this shelf completely wrong, thinking it was the right thing to do. Obviously it wasn't, but I knew if I didn't hurry up and get that shit done, my boss was about to yell at me on my first day and humiliate me in front of all my friends. So I just put up a bunch of random dog foods in a bunch of random places and told him I was done. And he's like, alright, awesome, like I'm glad you got the hang of it. Take this food and go feed the beta fish. So I'm like, okay, great. So I take the fish food and I go over to the fish aisle and I start feeding these beta fish. And this was easy. This was a simple task. I know how to feed a fish. I've had many fish in my lifetime. Some may call me a professional fish connoisseur. Okay, like I know what I'm doing when it comes to fish. I'm just fucking kidding, but I definitely know how to feed a fish. It's not rocket science. So yeah, I feed these beta fish, and when I get done feeding them, I start kind of freaking out. Like it starts to hit me that I am tripping balls on my first day of work, and there's all these bright lights on me from like the overhead lights, and I don't know what I'm doing half the time, and I'm nervous and just anxious in general. I mean, everyone's nervous their first day of work at a new job, so imagine doing that while tripping balls. It's just not an easy task. So I start to kind of have a panic attack, and I sit down, and I put my head between my knees so I can like calm down, and all of a sudden, I get a tap on my shoulder like 5 minutes later from my boss. He's like, Austin, what are you doing? You sleeping on the job? Like, come on, man. It's your first day. You gotta get up. I was like, I'm not sleeping. He's like, really? Because it kind of looks like you're sleeping. Like, it definitely looks like you're sleeping. I was like, no, I'm not. He goes, well, let me tell you something. You can't sleep right now because you need to go and reorganize all of the dog foods. I just checked that aisle. All of it was wrong. You organized it completely wrong, all mismatched. I put it all back on the floor. Go redo that right now, please. And I'm like, okay, sure. So I walk over to the aisle and I start trying to reorganize these dog foods. And he's like over my shoulder the whole time watching me. And every mistake I make, he's like, dude, you're doing it wrong again. Like, how many times do I have to show you? So when he said this, something just came over me. It was like a dark cloud of anger. I turn to him, I look at him, and I go, no, I quit. He goes, what? You're gonna quit on your first fucking day because you don't know how to organize some dog food? And I look him in the eye and I just go, no, I'm not quitting because because I don't know how to order dog food. I'm quitting because I am on fucking acid, tripping absolute balls, and I'm here working at a fucking pet shop in the middle of this. I quit, and I turn around and I start walking away. And he grabs me by the shoulder, and he goes, what'd you just say? Acid? You're on acid right now on your first day of work? You really think that's responsible, Austin? And I was like, no, it's not responsible, and that's why I quit. Because I'm on acid, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm a dumbass, I know. But I didn't think that this was my first day. I had my scheduling all wrong. And he goes, I can't believe you. Like, your friends, they vouch for you up and down, but I can't have someone that comes in all messed up to their first work shift. And I look at him again, and I was like I said, it was an accident. But yeah, I agree. That's why I quit. He goes, you can't quit because you're fired, Austin. And I was like, nope, I'm pretty fucking sure I just quit. I just told you I quit. You don't need to do the whole, oh, you can't quit because you're fired thing. Like, it's not a movie. You don't need to add dramatic effect. And he gets all angry. He's like, Austin, just fucking leave. Just get out of my sight. I don't want to see you anymore. I was like, okay, good luck with the pet shop. And I left. Now listen, I definitely took the L in this situation. It was a very irresponsible move of me in this whole situation to do what I did. But at the same time, I just couldn't fucking be there any longer. I needed to leave because it was not a good environment for me. I'm well aware that I created the bad environment myself, but had to get out of there. But yeah, guys, moral of this story is don't do anything that I just talked about in this story time. Ever. Not a good idea. But yeah, guys, that's the story time of how I got fired from one of my only jobs that I've worked. And I had a good run. It was a long job. I was there for like an hour and a half. That shit was crazy. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much the end of the story time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace.
Are you ready for a gross nursing story? If not, move on. Okay, so let's go. I was admitting this patient onto hospice. He was a homeless man with some severe mental illness, and I had gotten report that prior to this terminal illness that he was coming onto hospice for, he had been in the hospital due to severe burns from an accident. Now, I got a report that he had been there for months, very combative, very aggressive, and refusing most of his wound care. So by the time I saw him, he was not combative. He was still aggressive and like not super nice, but he was going to allow me to do his wound care. So when I saw him, he had a sheet like up to his neck, and I gave him medication so I could do the wound care, and he was being totally cooperative. So this is an admission. So he had just come from the hospital. So I needed to do it head to toe. So I pull the sheet down. Do you know where this is going? This poor man is covered head to toe with bugs. Thousands of bugs, thousands covered. I literally don't know how he was laying there and not like hitting the bugs. Like, I don't know how he was not feeling bugs all over him. So I needed to call like in reinforcements because now the bugs, I kind of let them loose by pulling the sheet back. Now they're all over the bed. They're all over the ceiling. They're getting on me. I'm trying to clean him up the best I can, and I need to look at the wounds. So I start cutting back his wound bandages. Covered in bugs. All types of bugs. Ants, flies, alive bugs, dead bugs, grubby looking bugs, roaches. I'm not like blaming the hospital because I know they really couldn't touch him, but I don't know how this could have happened and how it could have been missed because it was literally thousands of bugs. Now to get to the good part of the story. He didn't seem to be bothered by any of it, thank God. It took hours, but we got him totally cleaned. We got all of the wounds clean. We got him clean. We got the bed clean. We got the room clean. He got clean clothes, all stuff clean. And we allowed him to have a peaceful and dignified death at this board and care. So he was comfortable, he was clean, and he was taken care of. So happy Halloween!